Again, let me try to oversimplify something that's kind of complex. If the Big Bang happens, all right, then boom, everything spreads out. An explosion does not spread out equal temperature everywhere. If the Big Bang theory is true, there should have been hot spots and cold spots all over the universe. But it's exactly equal everywhere in temperature. Now, no problem, because you know how if you pour hot water into a bathtub, it eventually spreads out and it all becomes even again? So they say, see, no problem there, except that it can only become even as heat is transmitted or distributed throughout the universe at the speed of light. And the universe is far too big for that to have happened in 20 billion years. So in other words, if the speed of light is what it is, then the Big Bang theory doesn't work either. So what you find is that it's pretty dumb for me to say the speed of light proves you wrong when the speed of light also proves me wrong. Either there's an answer that neither one of us are sure of yet, or we're not here. Because evolution didn't happen and creation didn't happen, okay? And nobody really wants to jump on that bandwagon except, well, there are some Hindus that believe we're not here, but that's a little bit different kind of thing. What I'm telling you is that you cannot use this as an argument against Christianity when, number one, there are several possible theories of how it could have happened, and when, number two, it's just as big of a problem for the other side as it is for young earth creationists. But, you know, since we brought up the Big Bang theory, why don't we just introduce talking about that for a moment? As you turn the page to page 103, what about the Big Bang theory? I heard someone, or actually saw a little cartoon that I kind of liked. Someone said, you know what, I finally understand the Big Bang theory. And the other person said, well, what do you mean? I thought you believed in creation. Oh, I do, but I shared that in my class at college, and wow, was there a Big Bang, as how angry the teacher got that I said that. What is the Big Bang theory? In a nutshell, this theory states that an explosion of unimaginable proportions, of an unimaginably dense cosmic egg, it's sometimes called, brought about by some unknown force, sent out all the matter of our present universe in the form of massive clouds of hydrogen gas. These clouds slowly condensed over billions of years to form all the stars, the planets, and all that exist on them. In other words, hydrogen, given enough time, will become human. That's all it takes. Problems. This theory has almost as many problems as it does proponents. Let's just list a few. I'll just start this and we'll pick it up in the next class. This theory states that star formation was the result of gravitational forces. That's the theory. Star formation is basically this. You have all these gases, but the mass and the gravity starts them condensing and compressing, and the bigger it gets, the more the gravity grows, and the more the gravity grows, the more dust it pulls in, and eventually it gets so much and the gravitational force gets so great that it ignites and it becomes a star from the energy produced by the gravitational forces. So the whole idea is you start with gravity and dust, and the gravity pulls the dust together. Now, what's wrong with that theory? The problem is that the expansive pressure of the gases involved is 10 times stronger than the gravitational forces involved. And a number of other factors increase this expansive pressure if compression were to begin. So basically, the force pushing the dust apart is 10 times stronger than the force that would be pulling the dust together. So how does that create stars? It doesn't. It can't. Theory. According to this theory, all planets in a solar system should rotate in the same direction. The fact is that in our own solar system, Uranus and Venus rotate in the opposite direction of the other planets. One of the most important things about scientific theories is they should make predictions that when tested turn out to be true. One of the predictions of the Big Bang model is all planets revolve the same way. The facts don't back up the theory. Now we're going to stop right there, take our break, and then we're going to come back for our next class. And as we begin again, we're picking up right where we left off last time on page 103, looking at the question, what about the Big Bang theory? Well, we saw that the Big Bang was the idea that all the matter of the universe and energy of the universe was once compressed, and all the space as well of the universe was once compressed into one point or singularity, and then it exploded, and over millions and billions of years it has organized itself into all that we see as this current universe. We saw the first problem was that stars would never form if the Big Bang had happened, because the theory that stars are formed from the gravitational forces pulling the dust together does not work, because of the simple fact that the expansive pressures of the gases is 10 times stronger than the gravitational forces involved. So if there had been a Big Bang, it would have been kind of like that fireworks display that those of you here just saw on the news, that one city had their big fireworks display, and when they set it off, instead of it all going off in sequence, it all went off at one time. And so it was 20 seconds of boom, and then it's over. In other words, the Big Bang would have been a big dud, because all the matter of the universe would have exploded, spread out. End of story. Nothing ever would have happened. We would have had dust and hydrogen, and nothing else ever would have formed. Then when it comes down to simple formation of solar systems, the Big Bang theory predicts that all the planets would travel the same way, but we see in our solar system planets travel in different directions. According to the Big Bang theory as well, both the planets of our solar system and their moons should be comprised of similar materials, because they were formed together, basically. But the problem is that the fact is that all the planets and all the moons are so different as to defy any common evolutionary history. Listen to Henry Morris on this subject. The Earth and Moon have been found to be so different in physical composition that they could not possibly have had a common origin. The same is even more true of Saturn and its moons, and Jupiter and its moons. Furthermore, each of the moons of each planet is drastically different from the others. They simply could not have been formed from the Big Bang. All the theories of the Big Bang, all the predictions don't happen in reality. Sir Harold Jeffreys, an evolutionary geophysicist, writes, "All suggested accounts of the origin of the solar system are subject to serious objections. The conclusion in the present state of the subject would be that the system cannot exist." So in other words, start with the Big Bang, you don't end up with stars. Even if you get the stars, you don't end up with solar systems. Number 4, the theory. Because of formation by gravitational forces, the heaviest elements should be in the largest planets, and the corollary, the lightest elements in the smallest planets. However, the fact is that the heaviest elements are in the smallest planets, and the lightest are in the largest planets. The exact opposite of what the theory predicts. Number 5, theory. All moons should rotate in the same direction as their mother planets. Fact, some moons rotate in the opposite direction from their mother planets. Next prediction of the Big Bang. The redshift, or theory of the Big Bang, the redshift in light from distant stars proves that the universe is expanding, which proves the Big Bang. Here's the fact. It has neither been proved that redshift proves the universe is expanding, nor does it follow that an expanding universe proves the Big Bang. Redshift has been observed to have many different possible explanations: a rotating rather than an expanding universe. Einstein predicted redshift due to gravitational forces. Photon decay or tired light and possible decay in the speed of light have all been suggested as possible explanations of redshift. However, I actually do think the universe is expanding. That's not the problem. The problem is that redshift is not proof of the Big Bang, because one clear example is that we have some objects that have both redshift and blue shift at the same time, which according to the theory means it's moving away from us and toward us at the same time. And that doesn't make much sense. Now I know some of you are like, what is redshift and blue shift anyway? And the best illustration is, have you ever heard a train when it's coming towards you and then is moving away from you? The The same train's making the same sound, but it sounds different when the sound is coming toward you than when it's moving away from you. And the same thing is true of light. There's a difference when light is moving toward you, the light source is moving toward you, or when the light source is moving away from you, and that's referred to usually as redshift or blue shift. Now here's the theory. The Big Bang would produce evenly distributed matter and galaxies throughout the universe. But the fact is that matter and galaxies are not evenly distributed. So the next prediction of the Big Bang turns out to be wrong as well. Now this has led many evolutionists to believe in something known as cold, dark matter, CDM. Now this is matter that we cannot detect by any method possible. It's cold and it's dark, so it gives off no energy and it gives off no light. So we can't detect it by any possible method, but it must be there for the Big Bang Theory to be true, so we know it's there. That's basically the evidence. But if there's no way to detect it, how do they know it is there? Well, they don't. But it has to be there for the theory to be true, so they assume it must be there. Again, you can call that, or you can believe that if you want to, but don't call it science. Still, evolutionists not only believe that cold, dark matter exists, they believe that it comprises 90% of the material of our universe. This is one of the many examples of how evolutionists pass off wild speculation as science. When you look at the evidence of what's actually in the universe, and we say our theory doesn't work, so we're going to assume that 90% of the universe is stuff we can't detect in order to make our theory work. Number 8, theory. An explosion produced order, complexity, and intelligent design. Fact. Explosions produce disorder, chaos, and randomness. The second law of thermodynamics demands that any system left to itself will go downhill into even more randomness and disorder. So in other words, you start with an explosion, so there's total chaos, and then you bring in the second law of thermodynamics that produces even more chaos. You don't start with an explosion and get the most advanced systems that exist in the universe. Then we see the theory. The theory is that everything arose from the material of the so-called cosmic egg. Fact, the cosmic egg had to come from somewhere. This is a big problem for the Big Bang. Who or what created the cosmic egg? Where's the cosmic chicken that created the cosmic egg from which everything came into existence? It wasn't a chicken, my friend. Well, and of course I'm just being silly there, but your brains were getting tired. I could tell that. We like to throw in the jokes every now and then. Basically, there are two ways to describe this theory. One is to say that, well, first there was nothing, and then it became something, and then it exploded. First there was nothing, then it exploded. Does it take more faith to believe that everything came from God, or that everything came from nothing? You know one of the reasons I'm not an evolutionist? I don't have that much faith. I'm sorry. But the idea, just think through it logically just for a moment. Assume you know nothing about creation, you know nothing about evolution, you don't know which one is true, you don't know about God, you don't know about anything. And I simply gave you two theories about the origin of anything. We'll just take this rock over here. And I gave you two theories about where this rock came from. One is that something produced it, and the other is it came from nothing. That's evolution or creation in a nutshell right there. Everything came from nothing, or everything came from a being who was powerful enough and knowledgeable enough to create all things. Design came from nothing, or design came from a designer. Which one makes more logical sense? Now then, we look and see that some would counter that they actually believe that everything was in the cosmic egg, so it didn't come from nothing. But when you start with everything already in existence as the explanation of where everything came from, doesn't that miss the point of the whole question? Where did everything come from? Well, you start with everything. What? It's kind of like the old joke about how that the evolutionists decided to challenge God by saying, we have now become so advanced that we can produce life just like you did. And God said, fine, I'll take the challenge. And the evolutionists went and gathered some dirt. And God said, wait a minute, get your own dirt. God started the process.
That's right.
If you could take existing material and produce something, well, that doesn't help at all, because to explain where everything came from, you've got to start with nothing and explain where it started. Now, some people say, well, how do you explain then where God came from? Excellent question. Logically, there has to be an uncaused first cause, or nothing would exist. There has to be an uncaused first cause, or nothing would exist. Now, some might say, well, what if everything's always been here? Well, the laws of science, first and second laws of thermodynamics, let us know that everything cannot have always been here. First law basically says nothing can be created or destroyed anywhere in the universe. Matter, at least, can't. You can convert it from matter to energy back and forth, but you can't create any new energy or any new matter anywhere in the universe by any known process. So the laws of science say nothing can be created. Wow. By any natural process. The laws of science also say that basically everything is breaking down, super oversimplification there, but everything is breaking down, so it can't always have been here. So if there's no way to get it here by any natural process, and no way it can always have been here, then there has to be an uncaused first cause. And whatever that uncaused first cause is, let's just start assuming we know nothing, but there has to be an uncaused first cause. Here are some quick things I could tell you about that uncaused first cause. Well, whatever it is, it would have to be powerful enough to create everything, so it would have to be all powerful. Since there's incredible intelligent order and design in the entire creation, whatever it is, it would have to have all knowledge. Since it had to make the decision at some point to actually create all things, there had to be something that initiated the process, then it has to be intelligent. Since whatever this uncaused first cause was, since it isn't caused, it has to be eternal. Since this eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful being, since He created such incredible beauty, since He created things that are in us like love, whoever He is, He has to be loving.
Amen.
A loving, an all-loving, all-powerful, all-knowing, supernatural, eternal being has to be the source of everything. The answer, where did God come from, is simply this: I am that I am. He is the uncaused first cause who has always been. He is the eternal God. That's who made everything. Theory: long searched for and recently discovered, April of 1992, bumps or variation in temperature in the so-called background radiation from space, supposedly left over from the initial explosion of the Big Bang, have proven the Big Bang theory. Fact: the temperature differences that they discovered amount to only 30 millionths of a degree Celsius, and have many other possible explanations: distortions caused by gravitational waves passing through large clouds of intergalactic gas, etc. It's also been questioned whether the instruments are sensitive enough to detect such small variations. Also, it's a simple fact that nothing can be perfectly uniform, so the so-called bumps in the background radiation do not prove the Big Bang. Now, before we move on from the Big Bang, I want to give you a couple other thoughts about this. One of the things about the Big Bang, one theory, one prediction, is that the incredible heat involved in the Big Bang would have produced something called monopoles. You say, what is that? Well, you know how a magnet, I'm going to just pretend this rock is magnetic. You know how magnets have poles? You know, positive and a negative, and you know, the one draws one, you know, all that, and you have to match them up right if you want magnets to stick together. All right, a monopole would be created by the great heat of the Big Bang. It's a magnetic particle, but it only has one pole. And there should be tons of monopoles all throughout our universe if it started with the Big Bang. Now, they're very stable, so if they were ever created by the Big Bang, they would still be here. Scientists are still searching for those monopoles. There aren't any. The Big Bang predicts them. They don't exist in reality. Another missing link that they have to deal with there. There's also this one, the flatness problem. You say, what is that? Well, the universe, according to the Big Bang Theory, started out in this cosmic singularity. Then it exploded, and it's slowly expanding out. Now, the gravitational mass of all of the material of the universe has to be exactly balanced, and it's very precise, or it wouldn't work. It has to be exactly balanced. In other words, if you have too much matter after the Big Bang, it would have expanded just from the initial explosion, and then it would have collapsed back in on itself because the gravity would have been too strong. But if it's too little matter after the Big Bang, then it would have exploded and apart, and you wouldn't have a universe. Nothing would have ever formed. There are an infinite number of variations of the amount of matter that could have been involved. It is the height of just stretching the truth and stretching credulity beyond all limits to say out of an infinite possibility of all the amounts of matter that could have been involved in the Big Bang, that it just by coincidence happened to have the exact amount, the only amount in which the universe could exist. That would be equivalent to saying we're going to take all the infinite numbers that exist, all of them, infinite positive, infinite negative, we're going to take them all, and we're going to pick one of our students. I'll pick my daughter on the front row, and out of all the infinite numbers that are out there, you have one chance and one chance only to choose the right number, one guess. If you get it wrong, the universe ceases to exist. What are the chances she's going to get it right? What are the chances she's going to get it right? What are the chances that the universe